All right, so this video is going to go over the Excel sheet. And the Excel sheet is probably the most important business tool that we provide you with because it is what is in charge of knowing your numbers, setting your selling prices, keeping track of your costs. So the way that this works, the way that this model is designed to work is you as the dealer get to decide your selling prices and profit margins. Your selling prices are just going to be a function of cost, and then take into account the profit margin that you want to make. So it's pretty, it's just a simple math equation. But most of you kind of already have a profit margin that you shoot for in terms of a target percentage. In our shop, it's 40%. That's what we want to make at a minimum on everything that we sell. So our flatbeds, we actually make 42%. We recommend you be somewhere around that neighborhood, just because that's a number that can be sustainable over time. You'll have some money to reinvest back in the business and still turn a good profit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get into a screen recording of the Excel sheet. Now this needs to be basically your live by document throughout this process, because if you always stay on top of your numbers, know your numbers down to the cent, it's virtually impossible to lose money. So I'm going to get into exactly how this works. So let's get into that. Just follow along on your computer, do exactly what I do. And the thing is very, very simple. You don't have to be a computer genius to use it. Like I said, we're going to walk you through it step by step. So let's get into that.
Okay, so I'm going to go over the Excel sheet here, and the first thing I'm going to show you is how to open it. So I'm on the dealer demo, and you're going to go down to the due diligence links and click the View Flatbed Excel sheet. So I'm going to click that. It's going to open it in a new tab. So the first thing is don't do this on your phone. It's going to be really confusing if you try and do it on your phone. Open that link on a computer. If you have Microsoft Excel and that's what you choose to use, you're going to open this. It's going to be a view-only file. You can see this here. If you have Microsoft Excel, what you're going to do is click File, Download Microsoft Excel. It's going to download it directly to your computer. If you don't have Microsoft Excel, it's okay. Definitely don't buy it for this reason. All you need to do is click File and then Save as Google Sheets, and it's going to save that to your Google account. You're going to have a Gmail account in order to do that, so most of you will. If you don't, just make one. It's free. And it's going to open it into a new window under your Google account so you can edit it, because when you first open it, you're not going to be able to edit it. It's only going to be in view only. So after you have it in your personal Google account, this is a pretty simple, easy to use Excel sheet. It looks kind of complicated, but it's really not. So up here are instructions for use. We already downloaded it. Next thing is edit the green cells only. With your local costs of steel and labor. So the way that this works is it lists all of your steel in this section, all of your labor in this section, your paint or powder coat or finish cost will be listed here, and then all this stuff is lighting, wiring, miscellaneous supplies that's needed. And then lastly is your desired profit margin down here. So rule number one of this Excel sheet, if it isn't green, don't touch it. So the only cells you should be editing, and when I say cell, I mean one of these rectangles here, is the green cells. So anything that's not green, don't touch it because it's pre-programmed. It's going to update as needed, basically, to generate your selling prices. So this steel here, everything in this list aside from these two that are linked here are going to be things that you need to get quoted from your steel supplier. A lot of the stuff you already might know the price of it because you buy it regularly at this moment. But what you can do is just click this link here, and then it will open a list that you can send to your supplier as a PDF. So obviously just lists all the steel, tells them what unit you need quoted, and then they can just fill out the price per unit and send it back to you. Once you have those numbers, fill them out appropriately in these cells. These are real-time costs at the time of this recording for our headquarters shop. So if you can be anywhere close to these prices, you're probably getting your steel for a pretty reasonable price. If you're not, if it's extremely expensive, it probably means you're buying your steel to retail. You need to work on getting a more wholesale supplier. But again, these are real prices. These are not just made up. So once you get your price back from your suppliers, fill out all of these green cells. These two are, this is the laser cut parts if you don't have a CNC table. And you can click on these for a real-time price, but at the time of this recording, if you buy 3 units of these at a time, they're $550 for single wheel and $700 a set for dually, and that would be shipped to your location. So just click on that, make sure that's current, and those are only really needed if you don't have your own CNC table. So fill out your steel, that's the first thing. Second thing is the labor. So the only one you need to fill out here is this green cell. Obviously, don't touch it if it's not green. This is your average hourly wage that you pay for your shop employees. So if you got one guy that's 15 bucks an hour, one guy that's 20, and one guy that's 25, your average would be $25 an hour. If it's higher than that, obviously make it higher. If it's lower, make it lower. This is going to determine your three labor rates, which is your fabrication labor cost, your install and wiring hourly cost, and your CNC hourly cost. Basically what these are is, it explains in the notes, but it applies in addition for, tool wear and tear consumables is higher on fabrication than it is if you're just wiring a bed. And CNC, obviously you got an expensive machine you're wearing out, so it's basically your hourly cost plus $35 an hour. That figures all your labor costs. So only enter this one. If you enter 30, for example, it's going to change all of those to 45, 35, and 65. So it does the math for you on that sort of thing. Powder coat and paint costs. So these are powder coat prices from our powder coating supplier at the time of this recording. So hopefully you can be somewhere in this realm with powder coat. But you're going to need the price for the base model plus toolboxes, base model plus fenders, all of the add-ons. They should be able to give you a price for the base model and then each of the add-ons. So fill that out there in the green cells. These should be fairly close to what they are. These are current at the time of this recording, but these are all links over here. So just click on all these and verify that the cost per unit is correct with the link. The lighting package and mud flaps, those are the only two things that you need to purchase from us on a per unit basis. At the time of this recording, this is the price if you're ordering 3 units at a time for each of these. So just make sure these are all correct by clicking on the link and verifying, but it should be correct. Last thing and most importantly is your profit margin. So this cell here, you're going to input your profit margin that you want to make. Now, a common mistake people make here is they mistake profit margin and markup for being the same thing. A 35% profit margin means that over 1/3 of the selling price is profit. A 35% markup would mean if you have something you're selling for $100, you mark it up 35%, sell it for $135. That's more like a 20% profit margin. So 35% is a good, healthy place to start if you're not sure about where you should be. We make 42% on our products, but obviously we have a good reputation and always got a line out the door in terms of lead time, so we can kind of charge a higher margin just because we have so much demand. But this is a good place to start. That gives you a good, healthy margin, and then gives you some money to reinvest. So this is going to be a breakdown on this graph down here of how many units sold is on the x-axis here, and then the y-axis is how much revenue and profit you'll make per year. So if you sell 6 beds, at these numbers, you're going to make $11,000 profit, $33,000 of extra revenue. Up to 36, that would make you about $71,000 of profit per year at $203,000 of revenue. So after you have all the green cells on this sheet filled out, click over to this page, the flatbed add-on prices. It's going to be page 2. You don't need to adjust anything in this. It takes all the numbers from page 1 and it inputs it in here appropriately. So this is not going to need to be touched. It just automatically updates it with your selling prices based off your cost in sheet 1. So this is going to tell you what your selling price of the base unit is going to be. If you're a nerd and you want to see the breakdown on everything, obviously we listed all of it here. But all these hourly costs, steel costs are linked from page 1. So it's going to give you the base unit installed if you have your own CNC table and you're cutting your own parts. If you don't have your CNC table and you're buying the parts from us, and then it'll break down all of the add-ons in terms of the selling price. This also inputs your profit margin from the first page. So if you put a 35% on page 1, it's going to make the profit margin on all this stuff 35%, 40%, it went up to 40%, etc. So you can go through this and see basically what your price would be for all the add-ons. Has an add-on for a steel deck. This base model figures a long bed wood deck, Singer wheel. So the Trex is an add-on, the steel deck is an add-on, and then there's also a dually. Let's see where it is. Dually added cost calculations, that accounts for the extra steel and labor that goes into a dually bed. So in this case, you need to add $350 if you have your own CNC table, or $750 if you don't, to the cost of a dually bed. If you're building a Tacoma, you subtract this much because obviously it's a smaller bed, so there's less steel that goes into it. And then no installation, that figures basically your cost of labor and supplies on install. So if somebody wants to install it yourself in this case, you would deduct $542 off the price. So like I said, do not edit anything in this sheet. This is strictly just all pre-formulated for you. The only thing you should be filling out is page 1. the master cost sheet down here. So that's how that works. So fill that out. That's going to give you a good benchmark because these prices, you're going to be able to see what you have to sell them for to make a 35% margin. And benchmark that against the rest of your market. Because if you're double the rest of the market, this isn't going to work. But if you're competitive, even 10 to 15% more expensive, people will pay that because they get the customization. But long story short, you need to be competitive within your market for this to work. So that's how the Excel sheet works. Definitely the most important piece of homework in terms of due diligence, because this is really what it comes down to in terms of if you're going to be able to get them sold, the price has to be reasonable in your market. So that's how that works. We're going to go into the third video now that kind of goes over the sales and marketing system. Obviously, this is your important business tool for setting the prices. Next video is going to go over the actual sales system, getting leads, turning them into customers, that sort of thing. So we'll get right into that.